We're live, guys.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, welcome to the grand opening of the Dimock Environmental Research Center. One of the big news about this is we just got our first $5,000 donation, and we got another $8,000 donation to the 501 to do repairs on the roof and the property here, so the scientists can start moving in and doing testing. So we are looking for more donations so we get more equipment, get monitors in the creek bed, more air monitors, soil monitors. So this is why this is a research center for the scientists to come here to test everything from ground, air, water, and soil. So that's what it's all about. So I'm going to put it over to one of our directors of the 501, Sabrina McCaslin.
Ottawa and Dawye. Maksasha, Desnikas, Mayanganayodam. And I'm so proud to be here today, in a good way. And what I just said was, hello, greetings, my relatives, my friends, my neighbors. And, I think about that all the time, and that cross language of understanding. And how long this fight's been, and how great it is to be here today, to open the doors of maybe tomorrow's understanding. And it's been a journey. It's a long time ago, long time ago. How many people got hours and stuff to listen to a good story? Because we got lots of stories. We've been lots of places. But the Science Advisory Board in D.C. made this national disaster place back in 2016, and we testified upon that. But there's stories that you will hear and not hear, and the ones that don't want to speak, we have to speak up for. And there's a lot in the mix. Hopefully it's self-determination, because that's what it is. It's called education, right? Self-determination. And some of those intertribals, we're all intertribal. We're one big family. Oklahoma. We're genuine human beings. And that's what that word means. And then Susquehanna here, Susquehannock. Most people don't understand the name that it's here, but it's the muddy current. And Tioga, forks of the stream. And everything that we tell you can be cross-referenced or understood for better communication, hopefully with the industry, that they just have to, what I would say is just stop. Just stop. Back it off. It's not funny anymore, And with that, I'm going to let Craig speak, because he's a great speaker and just all around kind of a great guy.
Thanks, Lee. Welcome, everybody. So Ray didn't want to do this. He had to do it. Just like Victoria, his neighbor that lives down the street, the industry came into this beautiful area, demolished the water, ruined the land, poisoned most of the animals, and then made it so nobody can move away unless you're wealthy enough to just abandon a property that you live at. Ray's in the same boat. Victoria and her husband Jimmy are in the same boat. Why? Because if you speak up and talk about problems, you're silenced. How did they silence Ray? Well, they filed a $5 million slap suit against him. What? I mean, he gets poisoned, he speaks about it, and then they sue him. Deposed me in Virginia. I had an 8-hour deposition because I'm his friend. They deposed 5 of his friends, dragged him into a room and deposed us, and claiming that Ray was making millions of dollars. You're going, no, nobody's making money. What I've learned in my 14 years of doing this, and by the way, I'm an accidental activist. I'm not an activist, I'm an educator. So is Lee and Ray. We don't go to talk to elected officials and lobby. We don't care about bills. There's no bill you need to write to protect the air and the water on this planet. We have a constitutional right in Pennsylvania that's not being enforced. We have the power right here, these people. We can fix it. We have to tell them you have to enforce the law. There is no law if there's no enforcement. My dad spent 63 years as a first responder, the Civil Air Patrol. He said, if you mix health and safety with politics, everyone dies. Doesn't matter what we're talking about that can harm people. If you play politics with people's lives, with children with rare cancers in southwestern PA, Ray's neighbor died of glioblastoma right down the street. Most of the husbands here are dead. Bill Ely across the street, dead. Ron Carter, dead. He said, these are people that were young when I met them in 2010. And all I did was I had a gas lease. I had a pipeline put across my property. We were kind of all in. I moved from California to a 192-year-old ancestral property, and I didn't know what was going on the negative. It sounded great. Well, like we say, it sounds great on paper. When they tell you it's all good and everything's going to be shillionaires, like, okay, is there any problems? Oh, no. And the landmen don't work for the company that they have on their card. They're independent contractors. They can lie all day long to you, and there's no liability for the company. Oh, that's just how these guys are. So it's kind of interesting to watch. So I came down here and met Victoria and Ray and the Sautners who used to live up the street. The bus tour went by. They had a house down the street, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on 3 acres, I think 3.7 acres. And all they did was Victoria and Julie Sautner spoke up when there was problems with the water. They were very effective. Victoria and Julie got 2020 here and ABC and Fox News, and they got everybody here. The problem was, it doesn't matter how much was focused on the problem, the elected officials they don't represent us here. Gene Yaw was our senator for 12 years, and Gene Yaw did absolutely nothing. I don't even think he ever visited anybody. He's called Victoria and Ray and I really bad names we heard in the Capitol, but he won't come and talk to us in person. Isn't it funny? So they've never let us testify in an actual hearing in Harrisburg. Wait a minute. Ray and I and Lee have testified in 13 different states. Oh, in New York, they let us go to the Senate and the House of Delegates and actually testify on record. Maryland, we went, and they let us testify on record. We never been allowed to do that in this building. Okay? I have a saying now. When you say that an elected official is bought and paid for, they don't like it, but they are. But by us, folks, we own them. We pay their salary. Their job is to represent us and our best interests. It's not to represent who's giving them money. So if they want to work for somebody else and make more money, resign your position so we can get somebody in that will actually enforce the Constitution. Article 1, Section 27 has been in effect for 53 years, since 1971. It's not something new. Oh, yeah, that new thing in there, we don't believe in it. No, that's not the issue. Even Ron Castile, the former Supreme Court Justice, who found that was real in 2013 when he was doing the Act 13 issues from 2012. And then he retired a year later. When he heard about what was happening with Ray, he couldn't believe it. He saw Ray's case that's against him in court, Cabot, now Cotera, filed against him, drag out for 6.5 years of discovery. So when I came down here and saw this, I went, oh, what? I mean, that's my neighbors. These are neighbors, right? They're 15 miles away, but they're still neighbors. I'm not from Dimock. My family's in Silver Lake Township. And, my family's I got 5 generations buried down the street from the house I'm living in. But there's no gas where I live. There's only one gas well within miles of my house. They drilled and found nothing. They were sitting on top of one of the largest natural gas finds on this planet. There's a Saudi Arabia of natural gas underneath this 9 square mile box. Isn't it interesting that it was the moratorium on drilling was put in place, surface and undersurface drilling, back on November 4th, 2009, folks. It's 15 years ago, by the DEP. John Hanger was here, I don't know, Victoria, probably 2 or 3 times a week from wherever he came in, from Williamsport or Harrisburg. They were actually here. Scott Perry, back when he used to really think that he was doing his job as head of oil and gas. So they put a moratorium in, and it stuck until November 29th, 2022, when Governor Wolf lifted it on his way out of office. But we know who asked him to do that. The person that's in office right now is the governor. Obviously did not want to have that on their resume, so they let the guy leaving, which would be no political issue, stop playing politics with oil and gas. Stop thinking a Democrat's going to save you and a Republican's going to kill you. Everyone in that building is going to try to kill us. Our job is to make them do their jobs. So my idea is I would like to file charges against every elected official in the building that will not represent us and our water and our air and how do we do that? Just Google it. If you look up oath of office, read it. They're all violating their oath of office. That is a punishable offense by removal from office. That's it. It's as simple as that, but nobody will do it. I guess nobody wants to do it, but just do it. File against everybody that represents you if they're not doing it. They're in violation of their oath of office. I take oath of office pretty seriously since my dad spent 63 years in the military, my brother 30 years in the military, my sister-in-law 20, and my son-in-law 8. So I never served, but I had 120 years of service in my immediate family. And guess what? When they swore in, they meant it. These people don't swear in to do a job the way they're supposed to. They're swearing in to get a paycheck. Since we give them a paycheck, we've already bought their time, and they don't get to do sideline. They don't get to take money from industry to be quiet. So we have to force them to do their job, or they have to be forced out of office. And they don't come here. The only person that represents us, local, county, state, or federal, no, not John Fetterman, no, not Bob Casey, no, not our U.S. Congress people. They love drilling. Those are Democrats that represent us in the Senate. They're not coming because if they show up, they get in trouble. The industry will just tap dance on their face if they show up. Who shows up? Well, our friends from Philadelphia, like Katie Muth has been here 6 times, and Senator Capoletti and Senator Kamada at Victoria and Jimmy's beautiful house down the street. We had a great time meeting with them. Chris Rabb showed up. So that Greg Vitale showed up. Daniel Furlaten, did she come on that one too for a short period of time? Yeah. So they show up. The only one that did show up was Jonathan Fritz, who's our Commonwealth representative, only came because Vitale was coming, and he had to tell him whenever somebody's coming into somebody's district. And the first thing he did was attack Ray when he got out of the car 20 minutes late, showing up at the tour, like literally tell him he's a liar and whatever else. I mean, if they're upset because they don't get to drill in William Pike County, where now Gene district got moved, so now we have Lisa Baker, the second most pro-drill senator in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I invited her the minute she swore in on January 3rd a couple years ago. I called Chris Ramsey, your chief of staff, and said, hey, when are you coming to meet your constituents? There's some issues you might want to get on top of. No, they're not coming. When I talked to her chief of staff, she's not coming anywhere near them. You know why? Because as soon as they do, they get in trouble. Wait, you get in trouble for showing up meeting with your constituents? I'm from California. Our electeds would come and kiss babies and pet cats, even if they were allergic to them, just to be out in the community. These people won't even show up when there's a problem. So what they say is there is no problem. Really is no problem. Well, then why did the Attorney General was able to file charges against Cabot at the time, then it became Kotera, 9 felonies and 6 misdemeanors? That's some trouble. Something's wrong there. So all I can tell you is Ray and Lee, I didn't know from Adam 14 years ago, but now we're brothers. These 3 people have traveled to 13 different states. We went to Virginia and educated them. We went to Florida. Boy, Florida, interesting. We were told, don't go to Florida, you're wasting your time. A bunch of Republican Tea Party people down there. Took 4 years, and the Republicans are writing the ban bills, folks. Don't give up on people because you might not agree with everything that they do. But I'll tell you what they do in Florida. They protect the peninsula is what they do. I don't know if you know this, but Ron DeSantis only won by 50,000 votes in the whole state of Florida. 20 million people, sorry. And the reason he got in, they said, was Trump. So once Trump got in, Trump then pressured him to drill offshore and onshore. And I was there when he told Donald Trump to take a hike. So even he who was helped put in office by the president of the United States, who's a Republican, tried to force him to ruin Florida, and he refused to do it. So there are all kinds of good people out there. They may not agree with everything. If we had a conversation, we would not agree on everything. Victoria and I, obviously, don't agree on everything. We agree on a few things. One is This is a beautiful area that she and Jimmy picked to move into. She and I can agree on a couple things. One is, this was a gorgeous area, and the Commonwealth let them come in and demolish it. Would you guys all like to know that in 2004, this started in Southwest PA, where our friends from Pittsburgh area are here. They drilled there for 4 years unconventionally. The average was 3 calls a day to the DEP for 4 straight years for water and air quality issues. You know how many times they warned us when they came up and started signing leases? 0. Nothing worse than Ray has had in Victoria. They've had members of parliament from all over the world come here. You got a guy from Africa or England or wherever comes here and they go, where do your elected officials stand on this? I don't know, they've never been here. Wait a minute. I just flew in 12,000 miles from wherever, from Zimbabwe to check this out, and your elected officials that live a block and a half down the street aren't here? There's the problem, folks. They can't ignore this. We're winning. We are winning. You wouldn't be able to tell it by what you're seeing here, but we're winning. Why? Because we're telling the truth. And what I also notice is, Lee's super effective. You should have seen the DEP in Maryland when Ray talked. I spoke for 5 minutes. Ray spoke for 10. Then Lee for half an hour. Got the whole DEP of Maryland in the building. And they wanted to hear from the guy who worked in the industry for 40 plus years. This guy drilled holes in the ground on multiple continents for oil and gas. He knows where all the bodies are buried. He knows exactly how this is done. He knows exactly how dangerous it is. So that's how you win this. You have to counter the argument with facts. We can't come at it with emotions because they'll make fun of us with emotions. This has to be factual information. Here's what I do know. Victoria and I, as much as we might disagree on certain things, agree that we have a right to breathe clean air and drink clean water. And for our children and the animals, the wonderful menagerie of animals she has come and visit her and that live in her house and in the garden, they have a right to be able to live here. This is not, my family didn't settle here 192 years ago, 15 miles north to have the water poison. I'm afraid of what my grandfather would have done if they would poison the water back then when he lived there, but that's a different time. But we can't let them get away with it. So what this center is about is being in the middle of this. It's one of the only places in the area. You're sitting in the only community in the United States that an attorney general of any state filed criminal charges against a driller, and they pled no contest to doing it. They could have fought it, but they didn't want discovery to go that far. Here's the problem. We drove up today to the Hunter Road area, which is just outside of this 9 square mile box. That was going on during the investigation that the attorney generals had. They knew it was there. They knew it was going on. Jess and Joe are here. If they live there, they moved in more recently than it started, but they're in the middle of it too. They knew it. Then they tested water. The charges were filed in June of 2020. And in July of 2021, they convinced everybody here they were going to come and test water. You know how much a water test cost that they did? It's your $20,000 water test, but the attorney general got a deal because he did 27. So I think they probably charged him about $10,000. But that's $250,000, and they got him hiding in Rebecca Franz's office. So if everyone here would do me a favor on Monday, dial up the attorney general's office. First of all, nobody answers the phone there. You cannot get a person to answer the phone at the AG's office. So, but call up and just ask Rebecca Franz, hey, where's the water test from Dimock? Because, that's only been 3 years ago that you did the testing. You know what the results are. It must be really bad if you're hiding them for 3 years in a drawer in your desk. And they signed the water tester to a non-disclosure agreement. They said he'll destroy his business. He'll no longer be able to water test and have a business if he speaks about it. You're like, wait, what? So we're tired of the silence. But all it took, watching what happened to Ray, I got involved. How I got involved was, mine is pipeline issues. I had a big pipeline issue near my house, but I had nothing going on with fracking in my house. Governor Corbett got in 2010. I affectionately call him Governor Drillbit. And he waited, he got in the beginning of 2011. 10 months later, he stopped all water deliveries in the Dimock area on November, let's see, what day was it? November 29th, I think, 2011. He cut off all water deliveries for no valid reason. People still had poisoned water, and they were getting water delivered, paid more for a cabin at the time, and they let them stop. So we had a big Water for Dimock rally, and Mark Ruffalo came, and it was amazing. But nothing changed. They refused to continue delivery. So I called Pennsylvania American Water Company. They were supposed to build a water line here. That project was killed. So I called the CEO, and I said, we need to get these people water. So she agreed. At the time, it was Kathy Pate, the CEO. She said, Craig, pick a property that will allow us to put a water hydrant in, a commercial water hydrant. So I did. It was Scott Ely's wife's business property in Montrose. Okay. So they installed a $15,000 water hydrant on that property for us to be able to haul water. I bought a truck. Ray helped me find it. We put a tank on the back of it, and he started delivering the water. I paid Ray $500 a week at the time just to get water to continue. So we proved that you can get this done as citizens. So what did Montrose do? They filed charges against the property owner, Scott's wife, and tried to arrest Ray for going to get water in Montrose. They went up to Ray. He had just been physically assaulted the first time he went up to get water. Now, Ray is 6'4", like 275-pound biker, but a guy came up and punched him for, you're a water pirate from Dimock, you're stealing our water. What? It's a public water supply. So it got so bad, and she was even going to get fined $500 a day in fines, that we had them move the hydrant outside of the Montrose limits. Okay? So we have the hydrant available for people. The problem is not the water availability, it's the moving back and forth. Joe and Jessica that are here, that live up on the Hunter Road area, they're getting water because Joe puts a 250-gallon tank in the back of his truck every couple of days and drives up to my hydrant. And then Joe asked me, how much do I owe you for the bill? I said, it's commercial water hydrant. I mean, the bill's like $50 a month, so don't worry about it. They were worried about the money. But we disconnected. When they called, Jessica emailed Shannon. This is how it works when we all work together. Emailed Shannon from Frack Tracker. Shannon forwards it to me. I called Jessica, find out what's going on. They're living with poison water. Their kids are being poisoned by the water in the bathtub. It's burning their skin. They're vomiting. They're throwing up and having nosebleeds. Everyone's getting sick in the house and headaches. And we went, uh-oh. So nobody's helping them from the government. The DEP said, what? Jessica, your water's fine. They always come back 3 months later and go, everything looks good. You go, why are the animals dead in the backyard and throwing up? Okay, so that's a lie. So Candy Manning, who was here earlier, because I'm going to name her, she and her husband spent $1,000 and bought a water tank that was delivered to Jess and Joe's house. I bought a $500 water pump. Ray went and spent all day helping Joe, who's also a contractor, Ray's good at it, hooking it up in their basement. And we disconnected their water well, and now they have clean water that they can shower, bathe in, and their entire life changed as soon as that happened. So I don't want to hear from anybody, we can't fix this. We can all fix it. It's just a matter of, do we want to do it? It's not about money. It's about spending time and believing people. So all I can ask this great group of people who showed up from far away is, wherever you're at, there's people in need of help. Let's figure it out. But if we group together, it's a lot easier to ask for help when somebody's being harmed than it is to ask the government for help, because they don't seem to be interested in helping us. You guys they started on you 4 years before us here, but we're all in this together. And what I knew from the investigation, our little meeting on May 4th, 2017, that Ray, Lee, and I, and 14 others went to, I brought 7 counties represented. Why did I get the meeting? I told it on the bus. I emailed every week to the Attorney General's office from 2010 until 2017. And I get a call from Shapiro's office when he got in, a blocked number, which I never answer. And they said, is this Craig Stevens? Who wants to know? Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's office. They said, okay, it's me. And they said, are you the same Craig Stevens that emailed our office or left a phone message at the headquarters here at least once a week for the last 7.5 years? Yes. So they gave us a meeting. That meeting was supposed to be 3 hours on May 4th, 2017. It turned into 5 hours. They interviewed 17 people from all over the place, and they started what is now the largest investigation of environmental crimes in the history of the Commonwealth. Listen, don't give up. If you want to move because you don't like what's going on, you move. But we don't want to leave people behind either that are still going to have to live with this. Because Joe and Jess asked, why are you doing this to Ray and I and all of us that were helping her? I said, because you're family now. your family. You're not our neighbors. You're our family. So if you start thinking about your neighbor, even if they have a sign you don't like the looks of, like Ray's neighbor, Ray and Ryan get along just great across the street. He's got 6 Trump signs there. I don't give a crap what sign he's got in the front yard. Ryan comes over and helps Ray with his yard and does all these things. Let's stop playing politics and fighting each other and start realizing without clean water and clean air and clean land, and for our generations yet to come, like the Constitution says, we're all done anyway, right? So that's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my kids. My kids want to know why I was spending time away, my 4 children or my 2 grandchildren. I said, I'm doing this for you, and I'm going to keep doing it till I drop. And then I'm hoping one of them will pick up the torch and continue doing it until they save their future, because it's their future we're wrecking, folks. If you have children like I have or grandchildren, we're ruining it for them. We're letting it happen. It's you. Don't look in the mirror if you want to know. I always look in the mirror for the problem. Look in the mirror, that's the problem. We're not acting enough. We're not holding people accountable enough. We're not making this mission to win, right? We have to win this. You can't have a tie in this. You can't have we'll both home because we had a tie. We don't do that. So what I'm hoping happens with the research center is we can get people in here. They can provide evidence, 24-hour-a-day monitoring of all these things. Any help you can get, anybody know that writes grants. We just need to fix the roof and fix the building. When we show you the basement is perfect for putting in scientific equipment and everything. We could probably house 6 scientists here, real scientists. You've got Tony Ingraffi, if you've never heard of him, he's from Cornell, one of the top rock mechanic geology scientists in the world. He's on the board. So is Dr. John Stoltz from your guys' area, one of the top water quality and radiation experts on the planet, is on the board. Lee McCaslin, former master driller since he was 17 years old. They know their stuff, folks. These are not, the people that Ray picked. He's not on the board. I'm not on the board. We're not interested. We don't want them to attack it as some kind of a bunch of lefty tree hugger liberals on it. There are actual scientists on it, right? So let's promote something. This is one of the only areas in the world where we can do something like this where it'll get attention. We don't know 6 films have been made about this area. 6 films have been made about it. Songs have been written about it, whatever, but we still haven't solved the problem. And the problem is they're still doing this. Now, the new governor is letting them drill right underneath here. How many wells, Victoria, did you find the paperwork for?
12.
12 to 15? 12 to 15 laterals. Reyes, that's a couple miles away. They're coming in from 15,000 feet underneath here. Why? Because they want to stick their straw underneath here. So he promised everyone water and gave no water to anybody. They promised delivered water to people. They get bottled jugs of water on their porch. What are we supposed to do when it's winter? And Victoria's supposed to pour gallon jugs of water over your head for a shower? No, come on. This is ridiculous. Don't believe when the politicians, as we know, when their mouth is moving, they're lying, because he obviously was. 27-minute long press conference, a few minutes from this place. He never came here, Victoria. He sent his lackeys here that covered everything up and made non-disclosures and lied to everybody, but he won't come. So when he came to speak at his energy plan, he was stupid enough to bring it to Scranton. So Ray and I and Vera went over to say hi. We got over there. First of all, he doesn't have a very good security detail. I know security. We walk into the International Brotherhood of pipe fitters. There's no magnetometer. There's no nothing. Nobody cared. And walk right in. We sit down. There's rows of chairs. It's a small room. Ray's sitting here. I'm sitting here. Vera's behind us with the camera going. We got there early, like 45 minutes early. He was late, of course, getting there. All these elected officials, Kozorowski's there, Eddie Dapashensky, the guy from NRDC that now promotes drilling and hydrogen hubs. So Shapiro walks in. One of my favorite times so far in 14 years to watch the governor of Pennsylvania walk in, get to the podium. He scans the room and he goes, and he sees Ray and he goes, "Ghost white." Uh-oh. Like that. Uh-oh. And Ray just sat there like this. We let him chat for a little bit, lie to us some more, lie to us, baby. And then Ray gets up, unbeknownst to me. I thought Ray was going to stand up and say something. No, Ray stands up and walks right at him, down 3 rows. And his security detail doesn't even stop them. Ray got within 2 feet of the governor, the sitting governor of the Commonwealth. Now, I was pretty sure Ray was going to do anything he shouldn't have done, but I didn't know for sure what could happen here. But Shapiro was like this. He had nowhere to go. He couldn't back up. He couldn't move left or right. So here comes Ray, walked right up. And Ray just started giving it to him like this. And then Ray walked out. And then I let him talk a little longer. And one of his staff members sat next to me. I didn't know who that was. And then I stood up and gave him what's what. And then I got surrounded by his staff. Well, his staff are a bunch of cover-up artists. By the way, somebody called the lieutenant governor. I've tried to get him to even answer the phone or call back. He's non-existent too. I thought maybe we'll call the lieutenant governor, maybe if Governor Shapiro accidentally trips down the stairs or something, maybe we'll have somebody that will be on our side. Nope. They're afraid of this. We have to make these elected officials more afraid of us than they are of the oil and gas industry. That's all you have to do. They have to be more afraid of the people, which they should be. Up here, they don't care because the Republicans always get elected. It's like, 75% registered Republicans in Susquehanna County. So we play the political game, we're not winning. But if Ray and I and Lee can go down to Florida and convince the Tea Party-controlled legislature there, governor, Republican, Tea Party-controlled Senate and House, to write ban bills from the Republican side, we can do anything in this place, right? So my hope is that we take it seriously. This is the first meeting. We start to gather up information as to how we're going to hold them accountable in Harrisburg, because when we go to Harrisburg, that place is dirty. I feel slimy when I get out of Harrisburg. But I mean, it's where the governor's seat is, but let's push them. If they had the parents who lost their children in Southwest PA, like Janice Blanick, if she was able to go and testify in a real hearing with Gene Yaw and them having to sit there and listen to that, and everybody in there would be crying their eyes out like I do every time I hear these parents that lost their children do, that'd be a different story, but they will not do it because they cannot have that kind of momentum happen. So let's hold Shapiro accountable. He got this close to, stepping out of the governor's job, but he's stuck with it now. I hope I had a little bit to do with that. I don't know. I've never posted on X before, folks, but just go ahead and go to X and put in @CLS Craig Stevens. I have 400,000 views. Even my kids who are techies went, Dad, it's your first post on X. How did you get 400,000 views? I just sent a letter to Kamala Harris and said, please don't consider this jackass who stabbed all my friends in the back. They still don't have clean water. And if you let him behind you, be careful about where your feet are, because you might be rolling down the stairs yourself. Because all Shapiro's ever wanted to do is be the president of the United States, okay? I'm not upset about his political aspirations. I'm upset at the people he's stepping over to get there. And that's these people right here. Victoria Ray, all these people that I consider family now here and all over the place. We're all connected. Here's another thing you need to learn. They drill here, then the wastewater, then the pipelines go somewhere, and they go to an export terminal, then they go to somewhere country. Hey, say hi to this guy.
Turn the mic back on.
Yep. Say hi to this guy, because he's been to Europe 5 times over the last 5 years, and guess what they do? They listen to Ray. Are they fracking in Poland? How about in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, France, Germany? No, they're not, because somebody went and told them about what's happening in Pennsylvania. And they're frankly like this. What? How are they allowing to do that in America?
Back on.
What? It is. All the way up.
All right.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, sorry. So that guy, why did he do it? He doesn't have to do that. Ray could just take off on his motorcycles, and he wants to get a boat and just float away. Lee doesn't have to do what he's doing. They're both sick from working in the industry. Lee has all kinds of health issues. Ray has had 7 cancer surgeries, and he doesn't want you to feel sorry for him. He just needs help. He lives here by himself. I come over and mow the lawn because he broke his back in 3 places years ago and can't do things. So we're looking for all of us coming together. Joe and Jess, I want them to know, and their kids to know, you never have to ask for help or say thank you, or you ask for help. You don't ever have to say thank you to us. You don't have to say, how much is the bill for the water to us? Why? That's what this place is for right here. It's to find more people like Joe and Jess. Just tell this group here what your life was like, and what changed, what has changed.
We fell in love with the mountains and the creeks and the gardens, and so we moved up here, and we started getting very sick, and we didn't know why. I blamed a lot on myself, or germs, or this or that. There was a lot of illness and a lot of stress. We started going to church. We did some research, And then I reached out to Crack Tracker and got in touch with Shannon. And Shannon contacted me to Craig. And then within 2 weeks, we had a water buffalo and clean water to use.
Yeah, it helped a lot. It's something but before that, we had reached out to the DEP, the EPA. I reached out to the Terra themselves. Went to the building in Montrose. Probably spoke to 10 or 20 other people that had to do with, Susquehanna Township or the state of Pennsylvania. I have endless amounts of emails, and it even got to where people were pointing the finger, but no one else except these guys right here, the Dimock Research Center. That was the only people that, didn't point the finger. They wanted to know how we could get our, health better and our children's health better. And then, it came to deeper to find out that there was all kinds of contaminations and things swept under the rug from a fracking site right on the top of the hill, on the edge of our property. But yeah, we would have never known or still been in the same situation if we didn't get help from these guys.
We want to turn this into a place where people come for hope. There's people in this area that won't talk. Thank you, Jess and Joe, for sharing. I said they're family now. They could move away, but we're still going to consider them our family. Why? Because they're in the same boat as Ray and as Victoria and Jimmy. They got thrown under the bus and run over by our own politicians and our own government. Boy, if we counted up all the people in the Commonwealth, the 12-something million, 13 million that live here, there's a lot of people that have been run over by their elected officials. That's millions of us. We can get a lot done, folks, if we just band together, no matter what the issue is. Water quality, air quality, cancer. Go to phc4.org, phc4.org. They just released the cancer hospitalization records for the last 5 years. For 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Why? Because I asked for them. Because they did 16, 17, and 18, and it was horrific. Leukemia is the number one cancer in children in Pennsylvania. Out of 3,000 or 3,500 hospitalizations, more than half are leukemia. What? If you read it, you'll cry. These are kids under 9 years old. 90% of urinary tract cancers are in children under 9 years old in Pennsylvania. The number one industry in the Commonwealth is not drilling. It's cancer hospitals. Look it up. The number one business in the United States to be in now is cancer. What are they doing to us? By the way, all the animals are getting poisoned. The farm a mile from my house has cows, pigs, chickens, eggs, milk, and the well pad's right in the middle with the animals around it. So I asked the ag back in 2010 when I moved here. The people run PA Ag, and I said, hey, are you going up and testing these animals that live right on the farm where the fracking's going on? What did we see today on the bus, folks? We drove past Smithhold Farm, which had a well pad down here, and a well pad up here, and a well pad here. There's the cows walking in the road. There's the cows right there. There's the chickens right there. So what happens in Pennsylvania doesn't stay in Pennsylvania. We're poisoning the whole world. You know where Chobani gets its milk for their yogurt? Pennsylvania. Do they test it for constituents of oil and gas? No, they don't. So we're poisoning the whole food supply from Pennsylvania. So this is a much bigger issue than fracking and Dimock. But why we set this up is to give an example to people of what they should do in their own areas. We need these down in Southwest PA. We need them anywhere where people are being run over by their elected officials and other people just going like this. Well, I didn't see anything. Hey, why don't you widen your vision up a little bit? Plausible deniability. That's what this is. So we're hoping you can help us turn this into something that we can replicate all over the Commonwealth and all over the United States. And it's all because Ray decided he was done with getting shoved around. I mean, come on. He doesn't $5 million slap suit against Ray. I mean, literally, they're acting like Ray was making millions. No, they make millions. When you work for the earth to protect it, the earth doesn't pay very much, folks. It's not a real high payer. But what the earth does is go like this. Victoria, thanks for helping keep me clean. I'll let you survive and have clean air and clean water for you and your grandkids, which she has grandchildren or grandchild? Children. I do too. So that's our gift. Our gift is that we get to watch our kids grow up. Instead of hold their hand, Ned, in a hospital bed when they have glioblastoma or Ewing sarcoma as they're passing away. See, that's the alternative, folks. We're not playing anymore with this. Ray and I are not playing. We got tired of going everywhere else and stopping it. If you don't know, this team right here, and we're not the only ones, we just like to rile up the natives. New York was first. They banned it. Maryland, banned. Virginia, they won't do it there. North Carolina. Then we went to Florida. Then we went to Colorado, Washington State, Oregon. Why? We went there and they would listen. It's like, hey, we've never been able to talk like this in an open, in a, Florida, they wouldn't even cut us off. They said, well, nobody from out of the area can speak. Then they find out that Ray worked in the industry and I have a gas lease. Yeah, you guys can talk, right? So show up and start. I mean, if you know what you're talking about, and we never said, and I'm not negating it. If you go to my first two meetings in Florida were with the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, first two meetings, and what you don't say to them is global warming or climate change, and I'm not bashing that. That's way out of their league. They don't even understand that. They can't figure out how to stop people poisoning their backyard. You think they're worried about what's going on with this? They're not. We have to pinpoint. You have to focus. So you forgot to breathe, stupid. You have to wake these people up. Like, they're going to do this. You know what really showed up? Where's the water, right? I mean, the water. You know what got their attention the very first day I was there? I had, after I met with the Speaker of the House and Majority Leader, they put everybody in a room, all the leadership Republicans, and I pulled out the water and I slammed it on the table. I go, is Mickey Mouse going to like that coming out of the faucet to Disney World? Oh, no. I go, then don't let it happen. And they go, oh, yeah, if Mickey doesn't like it in Florida, nobody likes it. That's all you have to do. I'm not kidding. They all went like this. Whoa. And then, who was it? Alligator Ron. Look this guy up. He's very famous. He got Ron DeSantis out on his airboat. This guy is one of the largest builders in Florida. But he's the Alligator Ron. He does the swamps. He's the swamp guy, and he took him out, and that's what they say got him elected. Trump supported him, and this guy took him out. He's very famous in Florida. Well, Alligator Ron said, you can take your drill rig and stick it. That's what he said. You're not drilling and buy. Because the first place they got caught illegally drilling, Ned, in Florida? Everglades, one of the most beautiful places on the planet that exists almost nowhere. And that's where they not only drilled, but they were dumping the wastewater right in there with everybody, right? So they got kicked out, the company did. That's how you do it. You got to go to places that are already there. And then Ray said to them, hey, don't do this here. Why? I have to have a place to run to. See what I mean? You have to have a place to go because we got to have some safe place. Maryland's a safe place. New York's a safe place. They're not going to drill there. So we have to at least have some off limits. Sorry, you can't do that here. But I'm not leaving. I already decided I'm not leaving. I'm going to gift my property to my 3 or 4 children and my 2 grandchildren so far. Because I want my 7th and 8th generations of my family to be able to go and stay in a house that their great-great-great-great-great-grandparents slept in, right? That's what we're supposed to do. And we got Wes Gillingham here. Go ahead, Wes.
I just want to point out an alternate reality, a bizarro world or whatever. So in 2006, I live in the Catskills over there on the other side of the Delaware River from here. And landmen started running around, offering, wanting leases and offering one some payments or $50 an acre. And it went up to like $200 an acre. And then in a 6-month period, it went from $200 an acre to $2,750 an acre. And all of a sudden, everybody was paying attention to what was going on in Sullivan County and Delaware County. And then we were hearing about what was going on over here. I took a drive over here to see some well pads and such. But it was still early in the game. But luckily in New York State, we had a generic environmental impact statement that says how you're supposed to drill. And you flip through that and you come to this one section on cumulative impacts. And now this document had been done in 1986, and not one single environmental organization put any comments into it. And it said, due to the nature of gas drilling, there's no cumulative impact. So that right there was a gift to all the people in New York. Because I went in, I'm one of the founders and associate director of Catskill Mountain Keeper. And we would go into an office, open up this, 600-page volume, 2-volume thing, slap it on the desk and say, that's not right. And And you'd get elected officials being like, what's going on? And then we put in a memo with a handful of environmental organizations, put in a memo and protested a spacing bill. Now, this was something that nobody was paying attention to. It was coming in at the last minute at the end of the legislative session, and it was just about setbacks from a spacing unit, the lines they draw on the map of where they're getting the gas from. And it was a way of greasing the skids for fracking. They weren't going to be able to do horizontal drilling unless they changed that setback. So Governor Patterson said, well, we'll adopt the spacing bill, but we need to do the regulations. That right there, the generic environmental impact statement process getting opened up in the state of New York became our education platform. And our educators were Victoria, the Sautners, Ray, Craig. They even came to like local Farm Bureau meetings in Sullivan County. They came to little events with fewer people than here. The story that then took 7 years to get the governor of New York, we had a moratorium and a moratorium put in after the New York State Farm Bureau actually had good policy on against fracking, that they voted in a moratorium and then asked for another version of the GEIS. Then it was a SGEIS, and it's a supplemental generic environmental impact statement. Then that process, and what happened in that process was the people in the state of New York, not the experts, not the politicians, but people actually started to understand what was happening here. You had the accident down here, you had the moratorium, you had this whole thing unfold. The governor asked the commissioner of health to take a look at fracking to evaluate it. He evaluated and said, not safe for people, it's not worth it. So we got a ban on fracking. A ban on high volume hydraulic fracturing in low permeability shales is actually what we have. So there's some problems with that, but there's no drilling and fracking happening in New York. While all that happened and all that played out, things just kept getting worse down here. Then you had the thing that Craig was talking about with the Attorney General. The Attorney General doing a grand jury, getting all the information, multiple felony charges against Cabot. How does multiple felony charges turn into one misdemeanor, all the other charges dropped on the same day, probably the same time that the DEP was opening up the moratorium in here? That's a bizarre thing. And that was just after he got elected, before he became governor.
He's governor-elect.
He was a governor-elect, but he wasn't in office yet. So the timing of that was insane as well. You know, I've been meeting people as, the day's been falling out. Like, where are you from? Are you from around? You're like, no, I'm from the Catskills. Well, what the heck are you doing here? Well, I come down here whenever Ray or Craig call, because I'm totally grateful to this group of folks here in New York, because I do have clean water. It's very similar to here where I live. I do have clean water. I'm not dealing with skin rashes. I'm not dealing with smells depending on what direction the wind is blowing. Everybody deserves that. Not just New Yorkers. Pennsylvanians deserve that. We all deserve that. And we all need to hold our elected officials accountable. They talked about fracking in New York State. I called some people I knew in Wyoming because I knew they had dealt with drilling. And the first thing the person said to me was, well, if you're talking to the landman, if their lips are moving, they're lying. So I heard that. And then the other thing she said after I was explaining to her about the Marcellus Shale, she goes, yes, finally there's drilling in the east. This is somebody that had worked for the Powder River Basin Commission for 30 years, had been fighting frackers and drillers out there. And all of a sudden she was excited that they were drilling in the east because there's more. Wyoming has 2 senators. There's more elected officials representing people here. So she knew what was going to happen in Pennsylvania. She knew that there was an opportunity to change. And that change happened in New York, Vermont, Maryland. It still hasn't happened here, but it can happen here.
Well, I guess I should say something since I've been referenced more than once. So that's my calling. A lot of this has been rehashed. Craig should write a book. And a lot of this, and Wes, what he spoke of, I wanted to clarify one thing. It was Antoine Thompson that came down here. He was a representative from Love Canal area, and he came down here very early on, and he took the documents back that got you your van, eventually. He was where it started, Antoine Thompson. He didn't get reelected, but I still keep in touch with him. But he came down here and sat at Gene Carter's kitchen table up on Carter Road and listened to our stories and went back. And as Craig and Wes said, people from all over the world have sat at my table. And they all went back and they took the information. But here, we can't get anyone to help us. I don't want to go over the past because, as my husband always says, God put your eyes on the front of your head so you can look forward. And we could rehash the past. And it's good to give it historical reference, for sure. But we have to do the now. And the now is that Dimock is not yesterday's news. It's still happening. And we're not an anomaly. Go to anywhere in the state some of you have come from. The people by the CNX model drilling sites. It's happening as we speak right now. And it's going to happen more because they've got very thirsty hydrogen hubs in the future. And that gas has to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from here. And that's why that deal, I believe, was made with Shapiro. And, I don't want to talk politics, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened there, because that's pretty much not that long ago that this went down. When the AG came into Dimock, flashing their guns and their badges, the investigative officers, and giving us the promise that we were going to see justice. Well, that word sounds good, justice. And you want to believe in justice. I'm not going to do a show of hands here how we're all doing with that these days. But we wanted to believe. And Shapiro at that time, he was the AG. He was aggressive. I call him McGruff, the crime fighter. I'm old enough to remember teaching about McGruff in the classroom. And I thought he was going to take a bite out of crime. He sounded serious. And I thought, well, we can't undo the past, but let's do a reset. And if there's a reset, and if there's a tough guy or woman that's willing to take them on and hold them accountable, okay, that's step one. Because there is no accountability. This is an industry that doesn't have to fix it. They break it, but they don't have to fix it. There's no repercussion. They get rewarded. They get more permits. They get more areas to drill. So this guy rolls in, and thanks to these guys up here, they stirred the pot to get the AG to come back in here, because we were done in 2012. We were done. There was a settlement. We were just gagged. We were just told to suck it up. This is end of story. And I went about my life, tried to spend some time with family that I had been ignoring. I had my old dog. He just got old and died. Every time I promised him to go for a walk, there'd be a phone call or something to do. But back to the present. So the AG rolled in and knocks on the door. How would you like to see justice? How would you like to see this play out differently? I think, I asked my husband. He avoids these things. I'm sorry. He's just not going to come. And he said, well, what makes you think this time it's going to be different after everything we've been through? And he'd been through it too. And I said, well, Jimmy, this is the Attorney General. This is the top law of the land. I got to believe this is serious. Something good is going to happen here. Here we stand today. And what happened to McGruff, the crime fighter, and I'm not quite sure, I don't know, I get sued for this. I'm not sure when he had a change of heart or if he did have a change of heart, but something happened that made him realize that this area was part of the future. hydrogen hubs probably was part of the dialogue quite a while ago. And the gas from Dimock had to be obtained. And we had to get rid of that line square mile moratorium, which we had had for over a decade. You know how good a feeling that is to know that you might be the only place in the state that has that? And we had no new drilling. We had old wells, and a lot of the issues hadn't been resolved. But it wasn't a bad way of feeling to go to bed at night and know I wasn't going to be fracked again. But somewhere along the line, something transpired that, okay, we're going to take these people and we're going to use them as the bait, you know? And by this process, we are going to find a way to make gas drilling allowed again here. But to do that, we have to give them something, make it look like we're giving them something. So we were promised a water line, the same water line we were promised over a decade ago. But this time, we were really promised a water line. And there was going to be money put aside from the gas company. Of course, we were told, like you explained, that there were going to be all these charges. And it's okay. You know, I know that the justice system, the legal system is based on compromise. I get that. You know, you don't always walk out with the win you think you wanted everything or you were right. Now, it's great to be right, but, you know, it just doesn't always work that way. So I think we were all quite willing to accept how it played out that day in the courtroom, you know, that we were going to get a water line and the company was going to be held somewhat responsible. You know, within a few days, I get a phone call from the gas company wanting to set up water testing at my house. I can't understand that. We just saw them in court. You know, what are they calling me? I hung up. I said to my husband, that can't be right. They called again. We need to set up a water test. I said, goodbye. Then I found out that part of the deal was to hand over the water testing the DEP had been conducting as part of the previous consent order to the gas company. So now the gas company does the testing in the box. And I didn't realize, and I found out very soon, how fast did we find out, that they allowed drilling, that the drilling could resume. Now here was the, you know, piece of candy. They couldn't put a rig inside the box, but they're all on the edge of the box. And they could drill in laterals into our valley. And what I've heard the last number is 12 to 15. So we got 12 to 15 new gas wells for the promise of a water line that we were promised over a decade ago. And I don't see any water line. I call it the imaginary water line because I'm not sure we're ever going to see it. I don't know if they're trying to wait us out to move or die or what, but I don't really see that water line. Where are we going to get this water in Dimock? We're going to get this water, this magic water, the magic imaginary water line. And the cutoff date, 2027, is the promise that it will be in by 2027. But this is mind-boggling. And listen carefully. They were allowed to drill gas wells before the people got the water line. There's no incentive here. I don't know how many parents I have sitting here, but you don't deal with your kids that way. Well, here's the candy. Now I want you to go be good. You know, there's something wrong with this scenario. And here we sit. So moving forward, things have been done. We wish that the drilling had been stopped. We tried. We contacted everybody. I think Senator Comita is the only one beside Muth that went on record saying, I don't think that moratorium should have been lifted. Woo, they're fighting words. I mean, we didn't have anybody fighting for us. And we've been pretty helpful to anybody who would come from wherever and try to tell the truth and get the story out to keep other people from suffering like we have. But so now here we're in a situation, no water line. We're being drilled to smithereens. The traffic is horrendous again. Mind you, we had for a decade a moratorium. Had Ray been asked, will you take a water line if that means we're going to get drilled to smithereens again? I mean, it's a no-brainer. What they should have said is, all right.
There's a water truck now.
Well, it's very quiet here today because I do this walk every day. I do 4 miles every day, 2 out and 2 back. And there's days I can't walk because of the traffic. But
Like coming right here.
okay.
It's a water truck right now. There.
So I believe we were betrayed by A.G. Shapiro, now Governor Shapiro. I believe we were used as the bait to find a way to open the coveted box. And this is coveted. Ask Terry Engelder. You know who Terry Engelder is. He's like the opposite of Tony and Brock.
God, but
We got a good guy, a bad guy. Well, he told me in a conversation that we do sit on the Saudi Arabia of gas right here. He said, right beneath your house, Victoria, is the coveted gas. This is it. And they need this gas for the hydrogen hubs that are going to be running on gas. And that's our solution to a clean, green future. I watched Governor Shapiro dance around in Philadelphia when he was auditioning for VP, and thank God he did not get it. I watched him dance around and claim that Pennsylvania is clean and green. Now, I've never been one of those people to throw anything at a TV. And here we are. So thank God he's not VP, because that's a heartbeat away, if Harris gets elected. That's just too close for me. I don't know. I could go on and on. I can talk more than Craig if you let me, but I'm not going to, because it's...
the traffic was slowed down because this was announced, because
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
because it's running back.
Let's look forward. You can't stop the drilling that's happening here. And I don't know about how you're going to do with ban fracking. You've got to go at it in a way that hurts them economically. You've got to focus on the money. You've got to focus on the toxic waste part of it. That is the key to succeeding in slowing this down, pushing it back, and moving other green, truly renewable and green industries forward. You've got to slow these guys down. And how do you do that? Is you make them call poison, poison. I've told this to a couple people today. You have 2 jugs of water. They're both nasty looking, like that. 2 of them, though, side by side. One has a happy face on it, and one has a skull and crossbow. They're the same water. But because the gas company is using this one, we don't put the skull and crossbones on it. We put a happy face on it. We have a facility up here that has 4 open tanks holding over 6 million gallons of toxic waste. You know where it goes when it solidifies? Utah. Some of you heard me talk about this earlier. Nothing good goes to Utah. I mean, I don't mean to put down. Utah's a beautiful place, but they don't send, slightly dirty water to Utah. But when it's here in Dimock, they don't call it radioactive. It's just toxic waste. How does it magically turn into radioactive waste when it gets to Utah? It's all trickery. So, Halliburton loophole. I know, we're trying. But that really is the key. Because you have to call that jug of water. You've got to put a skull and crossbones on it. Because it is dirty. It is contaminated. And that's what we have to do, people. I mean, I don't know how you're going to help Dimock. I love the idea of this center. I'm sure it's driving people crazy around here. Because, to be honest, when I say Dimock is not an anomaly, I mean that we're not the only place that has bad water. But the handful of people, we are. Because in this county, you don't speak out against the gas company. You don't do it. And I understand that. That's money, too. This was an area that everything had bottomed out. Timbering, stone quarries, dairy cows. Along comes the gas industry. Preachers were telling their congregation, this is the gift from God. And if you work against it, then you're the bad guy. You're the atheist. You're the pagan. You're the bad person if you talk about the downside of drilling. And that's all we're trying to do. I'm not saying you can flip the switch. Though, to quote Senator Muth, she said, you need a damn dimmer. But we haven't. We need to work on this. And going forward, I want to stop this hybrid from expanding, because if you work on the toxic end of it, that costs them big bucks. And the only thing that is going to hurt this industry, and by hurting, I don't want the power to turn off, but slow them down and make shareholders and people that have money to invest go towards the green technologies. There's an awareness thing too. CNX people, my God, you need to put up a big billboard and show all the violations that CNX has. Counter them. Shapiro has drawn a line. He's using them as the model drill site. Although they are it. Same way as he rewarded, and I can't say their name, and he rewarded them by giving them the box. The rewarding bad players, not punishing them. So we've got to hurt them by going at it, I think, with the toxic waste. I think that really a concentrated effort on that. Halliburton loophole, call it what it is. If you have a facility going by you might have better luck fighting that. Good news. I want to end on good news. Eureka Resource Center, For 2 years, we've been fighting that. Ray called me up one day and said, "Did you see a notice in the paper?" I said, "No." "Well, it's some obscure paper that none of us get, that they were going to put a toxic waste facility here at the head of our creek. And this facility, Eureka Resources, was going to take the frack water, take the lithium out of it. That sounds good, right? Pool salts. You got a swimming pool? You want your pool salts from frack lands? And then what was left was going to be impossibly, this is quote Senator Yaw, the water left over Victoria is going to be so clean that that's a problem. And I said, then put it in a bottle, call it Eureka, and take it to Harrisburg and drink it. But Eureka. Well, the good news is they pulled the permit. We just found this out a couple weeks ago. Eureka is not happening. And this has been a battle to save this little creek. I don't know if you got down to the creek today, but this is my beloved Burdick Creek, and I promised the creek I would not leave it alone. I would save it. And thank you, Ray, and thank you everyone who helped us. So for the moment, Burdick Creek is safe. It's only like a 2.5, 3 mile long creek, but it's home to, and those bears do not live in my house. It makes me sound like Mary Poppins or somebody. They're out in the woods and in the garden. And I do have a very close relationship with wildlife here. That's just who I am. But we are grateful that Eureka, and we don't have the full story yet, but they pulled the permit. So we have a huge win. Huge win. The dairy farmer out here said he can finally sleep. He hadn't slept for the last 2 years, worrying about that facility going in and him finding his dairy cows dead in the morning. Because, when they have an ammonia leak, and they had one for 30 days before it was found out at one of their facilities, do you know what 30 days of ammonia into your creek water and your cows are drinking from that creek? And this creek doesn't run full force like it has. Well, cows first, though. Well, anyway, so we have some success here.
We'd all be dead.
I don't think anything we did stopped it, but I'd like to think the attention that Ray brought on it and that Senator Muth brought forward, I think it does help to have elected officials on your team. The problem is, most of the elected officials, and our governor is an example of that, are not serving the people. They are serving the industry. That has to change, and that has to come from the people.
Victoria, when is there's a comment?
Oh, gosh. Why, I'm here. Okay, Hibbard is the facility that would be right next to where Eureka was going to be. And they have a permit now to get 5 more tanks, 5 more of these open tanks to hold the residual wastewater that comes off of the well pads. They don't call it toxic. And then what solidifies goes to landfills. And I have to see if the paperwork will still determine some of it is going to Utah, because we did see that paperwork. And then the rest evaporates just into the heavens, a natural process. It all just evaporates and probably floats down over our valley, because if you follow the terrain, you are in a valley right now that fills up with everything that they send our way. So comment period, August 21st, just around the corner. You can go online. Roger Bellis is the head of the waste department in DEP, and you can send a comment saying you are against this. Anything will help. I know Senator Muth, her office, they're working on it right now, and we would like to prevent this. But no, it makes it somebody's problem. It's got to go somewhere. See, the waste, you stop Eureka here, where's that waste going to go? Spread on the roads? We can't even pass that. We can't even get our elected officials to say, you shouldn't spread on the roads. So this might be tougher. I don't know, but it does take a lot of people, and we don't have a lot of people. I see the polls. We need more people, and you need to educate them. Put the billboard up. All these green groups. Did you have any money? I don't know if you have any money. Aren't you funded by Heinz? I was accused by the gas company as being funded by Heinz. And I've used this line before, so bear with me. And I said, funded by Heinz, I don't even get free ketchup. We never got a dime. We've never been paid for anything. This is just because we live here. I'm not a nosy environmentalist, granny, eco-terrorist from New York and New Jersey that has come here to stir trouble. I live here. I sleep here. I wake up every day here. And I moved here in 2003. I can't say like Craig, I want to stay. I don't. We talk about next spring. Hopefully, we think we might have someone that knows the history and is still willing to buy the house. I hope that happens, because, I'm tired. It's very draining. And I really love it when I'm not in frack land. And I've got grandkids, and you know what? I can look them in the eye and tell them I did everything I could.
It's just more battles that we have to do here. And I am tired of fighting with these idiots. I'm tired of fighting with the politicians because, like Victoria said earlier, if their mouths are moving, they're lying. Well, that goes for about 98% of the dang on politicians in Harrisburg. That's why I'm not making money of this. I gave the property, gave it up to the research center because you can't sell it, you can't do anything with it. And it was my final FU to the industry, giving this to an environmental center where they're going to have scientists sticking probes up their butts for the rest of their damn natural life, and I don't have to be here to do it. Well, this is East meeting West.
Yeah, I guess I'll say something on behalf of the Southwest Pennsylvania folks. Thanks to everybody who came out, and thanks to everybody in Dimock and the region around here for hosting us. This has been a really eye-opening day and just strengthens our sense of solidarity with what we're experiencing in Southwest Pennsylvania and what you all have been teaching us through your lived experiences and your education for many years now. So I just wanted to express that gratitude and say that, a lot of different kinds of ideas for action and how to move forward have come up today. We've talked about holding our elected officials accountable to our constitutional rights. We've talked about, going after the toxic waste issue and closing the Halliburton loophole. We've talked about building solidarity across political lines. And so I invite anyone here who's interested in keeping in touch. We have a statewide accountability campaign that we've started recently. There's several people here who are involved. Ray and Craig have joined the calls recently. And so if you want to be in touch when we send out petitions, calls to action, we can share information and continue these conversations so that we can all work together for a better future. So thank you again to our hosts here, and we hope to come out again very soon. We hope to see you in Southwest Pennsylvania again soon. And that's all I have to say for the Southwest PA contingent. Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming, Shannon, and getting us all figured out with all the groups. Making this whole thing happen today, getting the bus, Porter Johns, everybody that was part of this. I can't say enough thank you to everybody here for the help. And again, anybody that can help, us with the grant writings, getting us, grants, any type of fundraising help we can get. We could use all the help we can get from everybody. So thank you very much for coming.
We're really pushing to get this going so that we can help more people in the area. My hydrant can keep going and bringing water to other people. We just have to make sure we know who they are and how we can help them. So I want to set up a fund to be able to get clean water to whoever needs it. That's kind of part of what we want to do here, besides just have the scientists here, is make sure if somebody calls, they call the hotline. What we ought to do is the groups. I like an idea of we ought to have some kind of a hotline 800 number that all the groups, and we have it together where people can call in with their water quality issue.
Well, we are.
Yeah, you are, but
The environmental center is getting ready to put a 1-800 number out for people to call for water contamination and else. So the center is getting ready to get that done. Hopefully that should be up in the next week or two. We do have a media person now working for us, working to get us on all the social media platforms and everything else. I don't do that stuff, so we got somebody who's going to be doing that. So, we're getting it up and going. We're getting it running. But like I said, we are going to have an 800 number in the state for anybody who has water contamination to call in, tell us what's going on and where, and who. So, is it Cabot? Is it, CDX? Is it Range? Where? And give us a particular thing, because we're going to do a database onto it. So we have a full database of all these calls coming in to where we can proceed with this farther.